fantastic. This is GT racing right now.
He's got traction, he's got rid of the outside of both of them! Maloney!
Oh, he's taken Anderson! Anderson's up to
Oh my God!
Oh.
Big crash! Oh my goodness, half the field's going to get involved!
Second very close. These guys are going to want to make their way through the field very quickly. Oh, here we go!
Oh no!
That's massive! This is it! This is over! I can't believe this! Oh my God!
God, what?
Good evening and welcome to SimSpeed TV here on the iRacing Esports Network for another edition of the NASCAR iRacing Series Top Split on Friday night, 9 PM Eastern Time. The Open Setup Series coming to you today from the Monster Mile here at Dover International Speedway, getting ready for 200 laps around this concrete canyon that we have ahead of us out there on the track. My name is Ryan Jones. Alongside me is Sean Ambrose returning to the booth for a little while today. Justin Prince coming in later on this evening, as always. And behind the scenes is Jay Kennedy working on all those cameras, making all the visuals come to you nice and smooth. And Sean, Dover is a very tricky track to get right. A lot of banking out there.
Boy, you sure bet it is. You know, this concrete surface is just a tire eater. And the drivers will have to manage that all day. We've seen a week of exciting racing here at Dover. We've seen a lot of green flag runs, actually. It is possible. I will tell you, having watched modifieds run here before, those asphalt ground pounders get around this concrete track, flat out speed in those 650-pound modifieds. But we're not dealing with that tonight. We're dealing with cup cars here, Ryan. And boy, they are bad fast around this joint. And Monster... or Miles the Monster, I'm sorry, great setup by me, huh? Miles the Monster is known for taking his victims and holds one in his rock-hard palm as he greets you to the Speedway. And Ryan, I'm excited to be here to help you get started this evening, buddy.
Gonna be good. Should be fun. Another great quality field ahead of us for this one. 36 drivers lining up into this split, make that 37. As always, some of the biggest names in NASCAR on iRacing. Currently qualifying underway, Justin Bolton, the fastest driver so far, the 10th and a half over the field. We got Garrett Maines, Brody Kostecki, Timu Tweaker, fan favorite returns, John Gorlinski, Coca-Cola Series driver is in here, as is Jeremy Allen, Caden Honeycutt, Josh Berry, who's been doing very well on iRacing as of late in Saturday Night Thunder, plus 34 odd other drivers that are all very good at iRating. The strength of field, in fact, for this race is up there. It's around 4,000 or so, 5,529 in fact.
It's hefty. It's hefty,
Yeah.
buddy. That's just not anybody, right?
No, it's people not like you and me who are actually good at racing these things around the racetrack, the virtual racetrack here in Dover. So, with about 30 seconds left, as always, about half the field's opted to put a qualifying time down. 200 laps, so you've got to look after your tyres because you're going to have to expect some green flag runs in here today into the series. We always get some good racing, and there is Miles the Monster in all his concrete glory.
I'm scared. Ryan
Buckle.
Bolton. I'm sorry, I lost you there for a second. Am I stepping on you?
No.
Okay. Well, I was going to say Bolton definitely going to be one to watch tonight. I mean, let's face it, with that hefty I rating, being one of the boys from Carolina there, this track, his style, I think, set up well for him. He will definitely be one to watch. Mains, Doucette.
Most certainly. There is your starting grid for this one. Some of the drivers up inside that top 10 are very, very good. We see them week in, week out. Caden Honeycutt, one of those drivers running around in NASCAR junior divisions in real life. Jonathan Dalrymple, very good. JD Willis has been up at the front for a few races. Garrett Maines finally broke through for that victory last week out at Talladega in a wild event out in Alabama. Got his first checkered of the season here on a Friday night. That's your top 10 for this one. Rest of the field up on your screen as well. So we look to get this one underway, Sean.
Yeah, Jeremy Allen, Timu Toika starting there in 12th today. Brody Kostecki in 13th. And Brad Wright starting 14th. Steven Steffen, Josh Berry. Everybody's here tonight. Larry Pace and Adam de Blasio. John Gorlinski with us this evening. And Jose Solis Jr. will fill out your top 20. Colin Bowden, Steve Sheehan, another Coca-Cola NASCAR driver there. Dustin Johnson, Justin Levine, Thomas Hazard with us tonight. Pedro Omega, Bryson Hicksonbaugh, Jake Hickson. That don't get confusing when they're close on track. Alex Huffman, Alan Balacino. Sorry about that, Alan. And then not a lot left there. Just about everybody. Yeah, it does look like they all took qualifying times. Joseph Galata, James Mullins, not to be confused with Jimmy Mullis, Mason Stiver, Zach Hudson, Joe Krev, and that is your starting grid. Ryan, big field tonight.
Is indeed, and track temp is a little bit hot too. 41 degrees Celsius, 105 Fahrenheit. And a little bit of wind out there too, as always. Don't know what that's going to mean for the drivers in terms of which direction some of these corners are facing in terms of the compass. But the green flag time going to be just a little past 2 p.m. in the sim. Bit of cloud cover for those drivers out there, so maybe help cool the track down just a little bit. But they're going to be a little bit wanting for some extra grip out there. I come down that back straightaway. The self-clearing track is Dover because that back straightaway is banked, as you can see. So when you wreck, you're generally up down the bottom of the racetrack, but it's so tight when there is a crash down there, very easily can it take out quite a lot of drivers. So under the guidance of Miles, we'll go racing in Dover. We'll try to make it to the end in one piece, but someone's going to get chewed up and spat back out because this track bites hard. As we get ready to come to the green flag in the air, and we're racing from Dover Speedway, and a good jump there to Justin Bolton, slot in front of Garrett Maines. They'll single file themselves out, down through 1 and 2, out on the back straight for the first time today.
Yeah, Bolton got a nice jump. Maines almost seemed like he fell asleep on that one a little bit, but not Doucette. Doucette got off to a good jump, already rocking up on the back of Garrett Maines, and you go just behind that, your top 5 filled out right now by Austin Yarbrough. Caden Honeycutt up the spot already.
Honeycutt all over the back of Austin Yarbrough too, heading down that front straight on his back bumper, just a bit further behind him now as he tries to get himself working into a bit of a groove that he can slot into. He's got a good run here, does Honeycutt. Looks like he's going to show that nose, but not quite able to gather the speed up. And right behind him, Patrick Moose looking pretty good too, trying to fight away by.
Moose had a run at him. Thought he had a move there, and then said, you know what, maybe not right now here on lap 3.
Yeah, 200 laps is a long way around any
is.
racetrack. You've got to be patient, especially at a track like this. There's no margin for error. And even when you are being held up, as they are right now, because Yarbrough backs them right up through the corners there, you've got to keep your cool and remain just a bit patient. It's very much a one-lane racetrack at the moment, this place.
Yeah, they're going to have to lay some rubber down here. Certainly not enough time in practice or qualifying to get that done. Top three in a battle. It's a battle for the lead. Maines getting the Bolton there. Look to the inside.
He's right there with him, isn't he? Trying to carry that momentum forward from Talladega. He'd been trying all season long. He'd been in and around the #1 iRated driver of many of these races to get that victory. Hadn't got it. Talladega proves to be very good for him, and looks like he is carrying some confidence forward into the next few weeks as he pressures to the lead of the race. And he's going to be careful because Ryan Doucette is right there with him in third place as well. The top three covered as I come across the stripe by just over a quarter of a second.
Hey, Ryan, we got a big mover back here in sixth. Robert Miller already up 5 spots. Miller just got by Moose. Like the way that sounds, Miller by Moose. Now he's working on Yarborough, grabbing the tail of the 51. The 12 on your screen, I think. I don't know. The 12, the 51,
12.
right? The 12. The 12, yes.
51. Both. And
Yes,
yeah, so Honeycutt got by Yarborough, and now Yarborough is going to continue down the order as Garrett Maines has got himself out into the lead. And in fact, he's been followed by Brian Doucette, so Justin Bolton loses 2 spots there and slots back to third right in front of Caden Honeycutt, Yarborough, and Robert Miller. Top 10, top 7 covered by 9/10 of a second. Still very tight up in front of this one.
I'm feeling like a genius strategist right now. Maines is in the front. Yeah. I said we should look out for him, right? I think. No, I did say Justin Bolton. But Bolton's in third. Listen, it's still very much a one-lane groove right now. I wouldn't look for that to change until we probably get past the first round of pit stops, which, quite honestly, they can run out. I'm trying to remember right now what they did Tuesday night. I think we're good for about 57, 58 laps, or is it in the 70s? I'm trying to remember if it was 58 or 57 or 68, something like that, right?
Something like that.
Yeah.
We'll find out, won't we, if this stays
We
green.
certainly will. Yeah, and we're off to a great start. I mean, this is what we've seen several times this week. It's awesome.
Well done. Thank you for the commentators, Kershaw.
There you go.
Hey, so Ryan Doucette has stayed right with Garrett Maines after getting by Justin Bolton. He's going to start to pressure him now for the lead of the race. That's right on board with Ryan Doucette, in fact, as we stare at the back bumper of that #1 car out here in front of him.
That's not a bad place to be. It really isn't. Yeah, and you know, I remember we were talking about this in production on Sunday and also on Tuesday about the tires. You know, with this new tire model, you can actually blow these things out. You get deep into a 60-lap run, start broaching 70. We have heard, and we maybe even seen instances where guys have blown tires out. So you better be careful pushing it that far.
Yeah, the 79 blew a couple tyres in that race, didn't he? So definitely got to watch out for it, because it's going to bite. And Robert Miller, he hasn't blown a tyre, has he? Because he's gone up into the fence. The caution's going to come out. I wonder if he expected someone else. But it damaged the front right. Patrick Moose. I dare say those two have come a crop up because they were together on the racetrack.
And Ryan, I think Moose gets the worst of this, honestly. As I'm looking at the replay, it looked like he got a little bit of help from the 4, maybe even a little net code. Moose, though, gets run into and spun around. A lot of damage on the right rear quarter panel of that car.
3 and 4, yeah, Miller up against the fence and then contact below him. Wow. Ooh, the 14 got a piece of it as well. There was a few cars involved in that in the end. Timu got a little piece of it, and then that 14 you can see up there against
Ryan,
the fence.
I've got to say, we support Fat Timu, so sorry, I can't ever resist. And so that brings everybody down pit lane. I'm not surprised. Tires. You're probably going to take them every chance you get tonight, at least early on with 200 laps. It just, you got off to a good green flag start. Doesn't make any sense to try and gamble it this early in the race.
Adam de Blesio will be a lucky dog after going a lap down. may have started from the pits, the race off pit road. Alan Ballacino didn't stop. That explains that, because that was a mind boozler for me for a second there. Doucette wins the actual race off pit road. Expect Ballacino to come back down to find his pit bay again. Very easy to miss your pit box, isn't it, Sean?
I'm not any good at it. I need Brian Yazik in my head counting me down into the stall. So
Yeah, but you've also got horrible eyesight. You know, the old age.
I do.
And all that.
Yes, as I'm constantly reminded by you, Ryan. Yes, my eyes are. They're older. Yes, they are older, and they don't work quite like they used to. So that can be a problem. Reaction time slows down too, Ryan, when you get older, and that can be a problem also.
Doesn't stop you and our man behind the scenes, Jay Kennedy, working away tirelessly for iRacing behind the scenes in a variety of different events from IMSA to NASCAR. Every day, you and Jay are doing something for iRacing and helping to make all those professional broadcasts for Fox and NBC work.
I don't know what you're talking about. I'm sorry.
Don't do that. Don't do that.
I'm very appreciative, very thankful that I get an opportunity to do all the great stuff we've been doing here recently. This is an interesting time in all of our lives right now. They're involved here in this thing we call iRacing. So, but the racing's been crazy good for a couple of months now. With just new faces on the track, new faces who aren't really new faces to racing, but they're new faces to iRacing, right? And they get on this sim and start mixing up with some of the best in our world, in the iRacing sim world. And you come to find out that, yeah, it really all does kind of translate back and forth. And we see, again, some amazing races. We saw a pretty good one last night. Had a very, very tight finish. So, again, you know, it's the competition out here is just about as great as it comes. NIS, this is an all, what we like to call here, an all-day sucker. I mean, you're on this thing all season. It starts early in the year. It ends later in the year. We're not going to be interrupted by anything, fortunately. And, you know, I'll be back and forth on this series throughout the season as time permits. I love calling cup races, always have. And I probably saw my first cup race. They called it the Winston Cup back then, and it was probably in 1973, 72, something like that. So, again, pulling back the curtain with my age there, but it doesn't get much better than this level, I guess is what I'm trying to say. This is what you go to races for, to see the cup cars and to get them to see them on Friday nights, especially here on SimSpeed. A real treat for everybody that's a fan of what we do.
We're going to see some more racing action now because we're getting set to go back green at the Monster Mile. Pace car is going to get on out of the way and unleash this field back to the green. Flag led by Ryan Doucette with Garrett Maines to his outside. So Maines has lost the lead and Doucette going to try to run away with it now as we come back. And I'll tell you what, Caden Honeycutt there spun the tyres up just a little bit. He was fighting for traction, but he still managed to get a pretty good jump. He's up into second.
Not a bad start for Maines. Maybe Bolton not quite as up on it. He is now. He's up on the wheel now. Really getting out of the throttle late into the turn. But again, Ryan, they don't waste any time going single file.
Apart from these guys a little bit further back are still trying to find themselves into that grid. Now they'll do it. Yeah, because the one lane thing that this track has going on early on does make it extremely difficult to run side by side.
Already starting to see a little bit out of 4, though. Track really starting to darken up out of 4, maybe even a little bit out of 2. Obviously, those are the 2 trickiest spots of the track where you're getting that right rear down, trying to get the power off. So those will be the spots where the rubber shows up first. As the leaders come around here, coming out of 4, you'll start to see it darkening up there, up towards the top. They'll start moving up that line a little bit here.
Well as Yarborough on board with him in 5th place at the back of your 4th place man Justin Bolton is right behind Maines, and Maines hasn't quite been able to recoup that pace and get back by Caden Honeycutt. Doucette is starting to streak way out front. You can see there's a move further back. Who was that? Trying to dice up the inside. That's Jeremy Allen making it work with Jonathan Dalrymple. Puts himself up into P number 7 then. And he'll look to chase down JD Willis and Austin Yarborough just up in front of them. Big mover in the field. Steve Sheehan up 12 spots from 22nd to 10th on the back of Brody Kostecki. They've done a pretty good job early on.
Well, Sheehan already having one race here this week. Well, let's just say he's got the chops, the experience right now here, and not surprised to see him up already 13 spots, just getting around Kostecki. Go to work on Dalrymple.
Yeah, of course, Kostecki, not a stranger to NASCAR racing, went over into quite a few years of racing over in various short tracks and NASCAR junior leagues over there to try to make it work. Couldn't quite make it happen. Now he's come back to Australia and he's thriving in the supercars development category. Then he hasn't lost that oval touch, has he? He was very strong last week. Looks very strong early on, but he's under a lot of pressure now from Jose Solis Jr. and Larry Pace all over the back of him. Maybe just struggling a touch from some short run speed here.
Well, setup's everything, okay? So short run, maybe we're not set up for the short run yet. Maybe this car is set up for the longer run. There were a lot of differing schools of thought on that this week, and some didn't like the theory on their car and paid for it. If, let's say, they got a late caution and killing what had been a nice long run. So we're going to have to pay attention to that today. I think it's going to be critical. Again, setup is going to be everything here. What you gambled on is, well, what you're going to live with until the end of the race. And, well, if it stays green like it did start this thing, and now after this pit stop, we've got a good run going here, find ourselves in that last 75 laps or so, Ryan, it'll probably get really interesting if you guys get a caution.
Yeah, and for most of these drivers who are in big organizations, the setup is far from a stab in the dark. There have been, maybe thousands of laps logged across drivers working on this setup. Countless hours spent shooting it to perfection, but it is going to be set up for either a short or a long run. You're going to commit to one or the other to try to, maybe you try to put it somewhere in the middle, but either way, you've set it up for a reason. You've just got to hope that the reasons that prompted you to go whatever you did.
Oh, hey, Allen with the bottom shot on Yarborough there in the turn. Allen taking it away, going up to 6th. He's up 5 spots from just outside of the top 10.
He's on the move, isn't he? He's on the back.
Yeah, he really is. He's
Maines
burning down some quick times.
Maines is checking up these guys, but he's got a bit of a train forming behind him. He's not quite got the pace at the moment. He's struggling, and Bolton may be struggling just a fraction more as well. Backing him up through 3 and 4 on a board with JD Willis then in the 5th spot. Over the back of him. You see, they don't stay glued to the inside through the corner, so they drift up half a lane or a lane to the middle of the corner. It's almost like a diamond effect through the corners, isn't it?
Well, it is, but it's also the limitations of gravity, man, and G-forces. I mean, it'll only stick down there for so long. You get to a certain amount of speed, and more action back there as Yarborough still struggling to hold on there as he's got Steve Sheehan all over him. Sheehan 14 spots to the good, looking for one more. He had to back out of it as he almost got in trouble there with Yarborough.
Yeah, a bit of nose-to-tail contact as Yarborough tried to come back at JD Willis and had to check up middle of the corner. Sheehan had to really backpedal hard on that one, a little further behind them. Looks like Josh Berry making his way up the order. It is up into 12th place ahead of Jonathan Dalrymple now. Berry is someone who's been doing very well as of late on the whole NASCAR iRacing thing, hasn't he?
Yeah, not too shabby. Yeah, a lot of success in climbing the ladder, if you will, of the elite here in oval racing on iRacing. Did I say that? I did, didn't I? Oval racing on iRacing.
Yep.
That's not right. I gotta work on my phrasing, Ryan. It's still a thing.
Certainly do. Someone's got a lap down. That's the 14. Yeah. That's Brad Wright, who was caught up in the earlier incident. through no fault of his own, set up to the top of the racetrack. At least lap cars know where to go. A place like Dover, it's as high as you can go, and he should get right on out of the way.
Brad running
train though.
Brad running the wheel and modified this evening on that car, as it does seem to be a little off. Garrett Maines on the camera here, just so close. That pony is riding him. Yes, the pony is riding him.
How good does that car look too behind Garrett Maines? For its quality, the graphics and iRacing have really come in leaps and bounds over the last decade or so. But here we go. There's the move that he was looking for. Finally gets the overlap to the inside. Maines is going to fight it. The bad news for him is this opens up a can of worms that he doesn't want to really have around, because Jeremy Allen gets to his inside, and he's got to be careful because JD Willis is going to go through that door as well. 3 spots gone at the price of one slight wide line. And Maines goes back to P7, gets a fantastic crossover, comes right on back at Willis here. The 30's not going to be able to defend that up top, so Maines will lose 2 spots then. Good recovery there, I think.
All right, so Maines might be one of those people I was talking about. This car is set up for maybe a little bit longer run. You know, we are quite a few laps into this stint already. We're 24 deep into this. He could be just taking it easy here and letting those guys get around. But I don't know. We'll see. Again, I'm really, really impressed with the amount of laps that we've been able to run green here so far. You know, you expect the worst, right? Hope for the best. That's what I'm trying to say here, Ryan.
Expect the worst and hope for the best. That way you can't be disappointed.
Right. Exactly. Half full.
Hey, by the way, Ryan, as you said, after the big margin he'd opened up, Caden Honeycutt starting to reel him in down to a quarter of a second between your 2 guys out of the front. So might be worth keeping an eye on that.
Yeah, it's worth it.
There they are on the track. They've really closed up even on this lap now.
Yeah, Doucette was just a little bit faster, like a half a second, maybe not even a half of a tenth quicker that last lap. But he's got him now. He's found the measure of him, going to the inside into 1. And I think Ryan's going to just let him go. I think he was happy to do that. Maybe anticipating a little bit longer run, maybe save a little fuel here, or even the tires.
They're taking candy from a baby. That's just too easy, isn't it? I've never understood that expression. You would think a baby's going to hold on to candy as tight as they could. The caution's going to come out. Oh, big junk up in 3 and 4. There's a lot of cars torn up into that one. Larry Pace, stranded. One of the issues with the banking is trying to get it going again when you're in that situation. Got to do some big burnouts to get it back moving. Bryson Hickson-Bore's got a piece of it. Dustin Johnson's missing the front end of his Ford Mustang. We'll queue up a modem simulation replay here. Take a look at what's unfolding, because that was quite a few cars caught up in that. So it started off with Johnson potentially, maybe a bit further in front of him. It's already a junk up. 41's trying to... Whoa!
Arca brakes. Whoa.
Yeah.
I didn't say that. But yeah, carnage. Absolute carnage. And Toyota gets involved again. More trouble for Toyota. It just totally knocked the front end off his car after that one.
How did that start then? Because they were slow and wrecking, weren't they? We need to really rewind this and take a look. Here we go.
I think we're taking that look at it right now, and there you go. There was the trouble. Yeah. Just lost it.
The issue with Dover, the high speeds, it is so hard to avoid a crash on the entry recorder like that.
Yeah, so again, the older gentleman here with the slower reaction time, again, I would be guilty of using the Arca brakes on my car. So, but that was massive, really was. And so we get about the same number of laps in under green and head to another caution at an opportune time for these cars. All these guys were dying to get one. I'm going to be honest with you. They were.
Opportune time for us too, because Justin Prince has joined us up here in the commentary booth. Welcome back to the NASCAR iRacing Series, Justin. Good to have you with us as always. Been a pretty cool start to this one. A couple cautions, a couple big wrecks, but pretty good racing.
Yeah, I've been keeping my eye on it tonight, and apologies for the late delay for my operating to the broadcast tonight, but it's been very intriguing to see what's been going up at the front so far. It's been interesting to see in that there's the different setup philosophies. It was talked about by many of the drivers for the NASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series that the tire wear was significant here, and mind you, tire saving was important. It looked like a mix of tire saving and maybe overcooking the tires for the race leader to the point where we've seen Honeycutt reel his way back up and get that lead beforehand. But as we've already seen, pit stop box positioning and pit stop timing is very important with this track.
It is. Now I've got a question for Sean Ambrose here. Does he want to stay in the booth, or does he want to go hiking and chat up some ladies?
Ryan, I want to go climb a mountain. Okay, I have an opportunity to go get a little climbing in before the sun goes down, and I'm gonna go get some exercise because I have been in this chair for a very, very, very long time. And listen, you have got one of the best commentators in the business backing you up, and I have all the confidence in the world that Justin Prince has got this so much more well covered than I do. Honestly, I'm such a hack. I really am. But hey, I enjoyed getting to help you out. Boys, have fun. JP, I'll see you this weekend, buddy. All right, you guys take it easy.
Thank you very much, Sean, for jumping in at the last second to help us out. And that leaves it just two people up here then, me and you, Justin. We'll take this through to the checkered flag, a 200-lap race. Almost a quarter of the way through it, going by a pretty quick rate here.
Yeah, it's one of those types of tracks, Ryan, where you expect a lot of attrition because it's such a difficult racetrack, and when you combine how quick the cars have been going throughout this entire week, it can be very fickle and tricky because you're so loose. You have more safer barriers added along the front and back straightaways, so you have 3 less feet to work with on your quarter exit. And we already seen one of the new factors added in just this past Thursday in preparation for the Pro Invitational. Something these drivers didn't even have for Wednesday was that safer barrier where we have the exit on the entrance of turn 3. That came to a factor for the first time in NIS competition. So these drivers are slowly but surely coming together with the track and trying to get themselves a good rhythm. Once there's a long run, that's where I think it'd be very interesting to see how things shape out.
Well, interesting, Ken Honeycutt was doing pretty well, and he just got by Doucette before that caution came out, but Doucette, very good on pit road. Once again, he emerges the fastest car off the lane, so he'll regain the lead here. It looks like Honeycutt's car is set up for the long run, so he might not be in the lead for a few laps yet. And it's Justin Bolton and Jeremy Allen line up off row 2 behind them. Going to be interesting to see how this restart pans out. Well, the Honeycutt's got the pace to go with him immediately, or Doucette opens up the big margin he had immediately off the last restart as pace car dives down. We'll go back racing the Monster Mile. Green flag back in the air. And a very good restart for the top 4. They immediately jump to single file. And then a very tight 2x2. JD Willis, Garrett Maines, Kostecki, Yarborough trying to sort themselves out.
It's very tricky in the midst of the pack to try and get yourself clear. And you want to be on the bottom side, especially when these starts. Already another caution flag. In fact, the back of the field, a massive stack up in the back of the pack.
That's on the back straight away, the self-clearing back straight. We always end up down to the inside of the racetrack. The track gets blocked very easy. Colin Bowden is down there, doing a little flick spin to get it going. Not much damage to his car, a slight bit of a bent-in fender on the front left, not much more. We'll take a look at the replay, what's going on for him. This is off the restart, down the front straight away. He's got the 97 right in and behind him. That's John Gorlinski. And oh no, he got turned through the corner, kept it going, almost saved it, and then got stacked up in front of a few more.
Almost like a bit of a 50-50 incident, to say the very least. He did get a tap from Gorlinski right before he went down to the bottom of the racetrack, I believe, and just slowly crawled his way forward, came down while Levine tried to take advantage of the hole that was starting to already form up. But again, drivers for the Coca-Cola race, Ryan, said it themselves. If you left the bottom open, especially in the run into turn 1, somebody was going to try and dive through it.
Yeah, certainly. When you see a crash, you've got to really try to either check up or just get through it. I mean, obviously you always slow down, don't you, Justin? But sometimes when they get through a crash, is that just, you know, keep your momentum up and try to get through before they block the track, because it's somewhere like this place too, it's very easy for that track to get blocked and you don't always have time to come to a complete stop to avoid it.
And that's a tricky thing, though, when it comes to Dover, Ryan, because, again, you're carrying so much on throttle time on corner exit, even with the lower downforce this week at Dover, where you've got about a half a second to a full second to react. Plus, it's concrete surfaces, which means a lot of sliding and slipping when you try and lock up the brakes on that surface. It's tricky to make sure you get yourself rolled down even to avoid those types of incidents, and I think that's where we see a lot of the drivers rush their way into the incident with no time to react before they can get back on the brake pedal, and that's where we see a lot of people lock up the brakes, in fact, trying to make sure they can stop.
Yeah, indeed, and one of those things you got to consider, along with everything else, and that concrete surface, and what difference does it bring? Because you don't have many concrete tracks in NASCAR. You got a couple that come to mind, but it definitely has an effect on the tires, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's much more slippery, especially on corner exit. If you put too much gas in it, the amount of rubber buildup is actually fairly different compared to a normal asphalt surface as well. We've seen a lot at Bristol, for example, where the concrete heats up very, very quickly compared to some of the other surfaces, and as it builds up, the tighter and tighter the track can get. So the concrete surfaces can eat up your tires, especially here at Dover, and we've already been seeing that, and that's extremely tricky for these cars to handle, especially with the lower downforce this week.
We'll come back to the one to go signal this time by. Cool thing I love about Dover is that walking bridge or crossover bridge over the top of the circuit down that back straightaway. You can sit in there, I believe, in real life and watch the racing from there. Pretty cool spot, because that back straight is full of action, isn't it, here at Dover? One of the trickier spots on the track, actually, as you come out of turn number 2 to trying to keep it off the fence, and then you have that big dive down into turn 3 as you drop down a massive drop.
And a lot of people love this track, and a lot of people have a hate relationship with it. Blake Reynolds said, for example, before the Coke race on Tuesday, he doesn't like Dover and it doesn't like him. A couple drivers felt that same sentiment because it's a very technical track as well on top of the tires and the speed we've hit upon already, because turn 1 and 2, you can double apex it, hold a bit more on throttle time, a corner exit, try and pull down the back straightaway, but 3 and 4, you want to try and stick around the bottom side, and there's a dip on the exit of turn 4 where it goes down like about a foot or so, where if you go more than half throttle in that section of the racetrack, you're spinning to the inside wall. That really catches a lot of people off guard, and a lot of chances for passes are set up because drivers have to get off the gas to make sure they don't get loose, or try and make sure they don't plow into the wall if they miss the apex in the middle of 3.
Yeah, all that pans out then as we come back to green one more time today. Green flags back out, and it's like clockwork. Doucette gets to the jump, and Honeycutt slots in behind him.
Nice clean launch for the top 2, but everybody else is in that battle side by side we talked about. You can carry a lot of momentum on the top side off the starts, but again, if you can't get to the bottom, you're likely losing a ton of positions, and that's why so many drivers are trying to defend so aggressively to that line.
Number 13 down the inside, Jose Solis Jr. Steve Sheehan on his outside. They can't seem to get out of this 2x2 formation. It's finally a mistake from Solis Jr. He's going to lose that inside to Sheehan. He managed to fend off Joseph Galota at least. Slots back in line now, so they all single file themselves out up front. Caden Honeycutt has not let Ryan Doucette get away at all. He's all over his back bumper down this back straightaway.
Now the Arca Menards driver, always such a strong competitor on the short tracks. He is a threat to win any time you go at a track a mile or less in distance. 10th of a second quicker last time by, this time by. Gained another couple 100ths of a second. Just can't get the run he needs to quite yet. You've seen it last time once the tire wear kicked in. If I was Honeycutt, I'd save a little bit and then make the pass.
Justin Bolton too. Watch out for him in third. You see that Honeycutt just lost a little bit of speed. Not much, but just enough. And suddenly he's under a lot of pressure from Justin Bolton. Fine margins here at the top of the leaderboard in NIS. Everyone else exchanging positions, but further behind them as well.
And we're seeing this a little bit here. One of the tricky things when it comes to passing on the short run is you don't want to push too aggressively and heat up your tires, because if you push too hard at the first 25 laps of a run, Ryan, by lap 40, you're extremely tight and you have nothing you can do about the tires. If you save your tires and keep them cool enough, you'll be able to have some extra rotation and extra cut off the corners to be able to compete against the other cars. That would be beneficial in turn 4. So we're seeing some of that factor in, I think, with Honeycutt again, where doesn't want to go too hard and try and force something, while just making sure he can defend with a driver like Bolton, who's in a similar situation.
And you look behind him, that's Garrett Main, stuck on the outside here, boxed in a little bit. Now he finds his way to the bottom ahead of Yarborough, but behind them, look at Kosecki and Steve Sheehan. Sheehan again on the outside of the racetrack. Worked for him against Jose Solis Jr. Don't know if it's going to work for him up against Kosecki now. Holding his own up on that top line, isn't he? First driver we've seen actually managed to hold their own up on the top side of the racetrack here today.
Yeah, right. But he's got no choice but to try and fight. That's the thing, because he has been able to find a hole. See right there, has a little bit of help. Willis electing to give him some space to get on that bottom side and let him get back into a good rhythm there. That's what he needed to do. Can't keep on riding up there, because the more you stay up there, the more you chew up the tires, the worse it gets, and the more you drop behind as well from being that line, the more drivers you have to try and pass in the long run.
Set's starting to pull a bit of a margin now. Honeycutt not able to recover the gap after making that slight little mistake, and Justin Bolton's right on him, but it's still just on a quarter of a second between them. It's not much of a margin. It's not one that he'd be comfortable with at the moment. Lap 64 of 200 here on the iRacing Esports Network, brought to you by Sims Speed TV at Dover for this edition of the NASCAR iRacing Series. Under clear sunny skies that never rains here on iRacing, no rain delays. One of the best things about going sim racing.
To touch upon that point, though, we've seen something similar, did we not, with Honeycutt, where he lost a little bit of time. Doucette was quickly gaining lots of time by about 1/10 of a second a lap. Then Honeycutt reeled him back in within the span of 10 laps or so, just after Doucette had gained so much time. So I think this is just a little bit, this run, we're seeing Doucette be a bit more conservative, try and be careful more on the throttle, not go as hard on corner exit to make sure he doesn't burn up and cook those tires like he did the last run. Because, give an example of the Tuesday run. Ray Alfala, starting to pull, led some laps, completely cooked the tires and couldn't recover the rest of the race. Plus 20 plus positions in a row.
Yeah, exactly. So you've definitely got to keep that in mind here. Is look behind these guys. Joseph Galota just found his way by JD Willis on the inside through 3 and 4 to take that spot away. So Galota now up the order, up 20 spots. Make that 21 spots in this race. Biggest mover of the race so far. And winding his nose across the back bumper of Steve Sheehan. Very fortunate now to turn him around there, because that was probably a couple millimeters away from a hook in the left rear for poor old Sheehan.
Yeah, has to be careful here. And we're seeing this with a lot of these runs, especially with Kosecki, for example, at 6th position as well. Because a lot of the drivers are so near even on the short run, it's so difficult to get a good run off the corner to be able to prepare a pass, because you have to make sure you don't run over the back end of somebody, right? So you have to wait for them to make a mistake. Like right there, Maines missed the bottom.
That allows him up the inside, trying to take that spot away. Brody Kosecki up into P5. Then Maines has no choice but to slot in behind him then. And he'll have to keep trying to work away and chip away at being there later on in the run, save those tyres, and keep that car squeaky clean, ready for the long run. They're all stacking up behind Steve Sheehan at the moment, led by Joseph Gallotta. Willis, Solis Jr., Berry, all right in behind him. He's not quite got the pace. You can see the train just in the back of your screen there as well, while your race leaders start to get a little bit closer on the track too.
Yeah, absolutely, but this is going to be where traffic management comes into play because there's a lot of lap traffic if you reach some of the wrong spots, say on the outside on the corner exit we've just seen. Have to get off the gas, loses you half a tenth to a tenth of a second. Likewise, you're hoping that happens to the race leaders, so you're hoping they stay very diligent, the lap traffic does, and aware of their surroundings to let you go as quick as they can to make sure you don't get dicey. Kostecki just had a near moment, though, with Johnson with the traffic in the backdrop.
We look a bit further back at this group, though, because it is a very dicey with Willis, Gallotta, and Sheehan. That's where all the action is at the moment, actually. There were moments of disaster. Gallotta rode up the track and into the left side of... Willis rode up the track into the left side of Gallotta. They made contact, in fact, but somehow Gallotta was unfazed by it, and his car didn't react too much as they fed the needle on the lap traffic there. One up high, one time into the apron, and now Gallotta gets to the inside of Steve Sheehan. Loses momentum off the exit of the corner, which checks him up, and Solis Jr. gets to his back bumper as well. Still got the overlap, though, through 3 and 4, but Sheehan's been strong on the outside. It's not going to be easy to complete this move. Still an overlap for Sheehan. These two now going to really start to hurt each other here as everyone's going to stack up behind and wait for their opportunity. There it is. Sheehan loses a lot of momentum at that time on the higher side. Solis Jr. goes by. Berry's going to go by as well. Watch out for J.D. Willis to get himself in that door too. And Sheehan loses a bunch.
Should note as that went on, though, the race lead did change hands, Ryan, just like the last run. Honeycutt got a good run off of turn 2. Doucette gave him space, made the pass in turn 3. Now all of a sudden he's the quickest car on the racetrack outside of Kostecki. So clean air and big, and there goes the clean air with a caution.
Exactly like the last run then, Justin.
And that Pedro Amiga who got way too loose in 3 and 4.
Runs him down, makes the pass, caution comes out, a wonderful C2 set, back out the lead for the restart then, thanks to a good stop on pit road. If we're going to keep doing this, I'll tail for the rest of the race. Momentum simulation replay, this is what happened to Pedro Amiga. Right in the middle of the racetrack, rear end steps out, a big slide, back up onto the track, the apron. Fades way to the banking, the car gets unsettled up onto the inside fence, keeps it down there, good job, but caution does come out.
Yeah, did a really good job to make sure he didn't come across that Toyota Camry that was right behind him. But now this makes it again. Another similar run as we talked about. 31, 32 laps in total on the stint. 4 tires and fuel, once again the name of the game.
Most certainly. Everyone's going to be taking 2 cans of fresh fuel, 4 fresh tires. This early in the race, there is no point in really taking a gamble in terms of your strategy. That all comes into play later.
Indeed, as right now Stefan is the lucky dog, as Saturday Night Thunder will feature some of the Junior Motorsports machines as well. Dale Jr. As well, I should rather say. A lot of the air drivers getting ready for Dover as well. Many remember of the NASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series competitors have been helping along to try and prepare some of these drivers. These drivers on the track, though, ready to see Honeycutt lead to the green flag. Doucette second off the pit lane. Bolton, Allen, and Maines rounding out the top 5.
Indeed. So finally Doucette going to lose that lead down on pit road. He's been so strong down there in the pit lane so far into this race, but Honeycutt finally gets the job done. Now this will be interesting here because last couple of runs, short run pace has been with Doucette. Will he take the lead away from Honeycutt, or will that clean air allow that 3 car to start to pull a gap this time?
I think it comes down in part to how Honeycutt elects to restart this race, I should say. If he elects to try and use the banking as a ramp, come off turn 4, start in, say, first or second gear. Some drivers do start in first gear, mind you, at Dover to try and get an extra bit of revs. He might be able to try and pull a couple car lengths. make it at least about 5-6 laps until Doucette can reel him in and force Doucette to work his tires. If he tries to stack the box, mind you, and that will make it where you risk tire spin, but hope for some mistakes behind, and maybe hope Doucette makes a mistake in his own trying to stab at the gas or over-torques the back tires to get on the launch. So I think it's partly how Honeycutt handles the start. Clean air is definitely going to be helpful for, though, dirty air isn't as big of a factor at some tracks, Ryan. You can get to somebody's back bumper at this track.
Yeah, most certainly. Hey, I want to rewind to that starting in first gear thing. See, I hadn't even considered that, Justin, because every time I've tried it on every other track, it's second gear, you know, without a doubt. You don't want to restart first, just spinning your tires up and probably spin out. But here at Dover, that's a thing, first gear.
Yes, it is, because it became a thing in 2019 with the higher downforce package, where because of the gear ratio, it had higher RPMs, but you had to be very on point to be able to execute it properly, because you had to get the gear shift up within half a second to be able to make sure you don't jam the gearbox or jam your shifter and get stuck in neutral. If you hit the gas too hard, you'll get massive tire spin, even on fresh tires. You can't afford to make a mistake on that. But the positive, if you're able to execute it properly, which most drivers do try and do that, you gain at least a couple tenths of a second on the start that you would lose if you start in, say, second, to make sure you don't get that, to try and be more conservative, rather.
Well, there you go. Interesting. You learn something new every day, don't you, when you turn up on iRacing? And guess that's going to be one to keep an eye on. Might explain why I saw, I think it was Justin Bolton, get some wheel spin just a little bit, fighting rear end to restart earlier on in the race, but still had that momentum to get a good launch. We're going to come back to the green flag here at Dover. Pace car getting used to making that hard left turn, isn't it? It's going to do it again. That's our fourth caution of the day. Now behind us, as the green flag will fly and wave over the flag stand. The field will come by the start and finish stripe. We'll hit lap 81. We're back underway.
Honeycutt handled that perfectly to be able to get himself clear. Everybody else, though, again, same scenario. Stuck side by side for the first couple laps. Gold rush your way to the bottom if you want to make sure you get track position, or if you're Sheehan, try and floor it and burn up your right front tire.
Still side by side as Josh Berry and Steve Sheehan. Sheehan loves that top line. He might be rewarded with it later on in the race, but right now it is a battle that is very much a losing battle that he's fighting. Caution's going to come out. Someone's gone around to further back in the field, outside of the top 30, I believe. And we'll see right there, two cars. Pedro Mega again being in trouble this time, a lot more damage, and Joe Krev with a very sore engine from that one. Those two look like they've come together.
Unfortunate for Joe, I think he just clipped at the very edge of the apron off turn 2, and if you clip the apron at all, it makes you very loose. Try to make sure he didn't snap right and snaps left and nowhere to go for the 25. Both of them now with significant damage, and you don't want any type of damage here at this racetrack. In the Coca-Cola race, drivers hit the wall, just a little bit of damage, say 10-15 seconds optional, put them down 0.2 of a second lap. It's even more damaging if you have severe damage like some of the cars on the back ends in the front for motor damage.
Now, do they come to pit road this time? A few do, but not everyone. Field split on their decisions this time. It was only a lap or so on the tyres, so not a massive difference, but still a fair few have opted to come down the pits.
And I don't blame them, again, because they're outside the top 10. Why not come down, get 4 tires and fuel, have some of the freshest tires on the racetrack, and regroup that way compared to some of the others who will have to deal with a little bit of tire spin potentially on the start, since they've already put a heat cycle in them and turned a couple laps green on them. So why not try and see how things shake out? And if you get another quick yellow and you'd elect to take the option, well, that might give them a chance, say, to decide to stay on their own sakes.
No, exactly. And Josh Berry wins that race off pit road then. What's Berry's background then in terms of real life racing? Obviously competing in Saturday Night Thunder, isn't he, each and every week, which you call over there with Evan Pasoko, I believe. And he's picked up a win in that series already, hasn't he?
Well, he has a lot of racing experience, mind you, Ryan, in various different portions. Very strong in iRacing. Raced in the early days of the NASCAR iRacing series. Has competed in the truck series for a couple starts. Has gotten a few starts for the Xfinity series. And is also now a part of the late model program at Junior Motorsports. So someone with a lot of racing experience, to say the very least. Actually made a couple starts most recently in 2019 in the ARCA Menards E Series, in fact, Ryan. So someone that's a big-time fixture in Junior Motorsports.
Maybe one to keep an eye on then in the future, making a rise towards NASCAR. Good to see the exposure some of those drivers have got too. With that Saturday Night Thunder series, allowing drivers in junior categories developing their way up the NASCAR ladder to get some pretty good time, where a lot of people that watch the Cup Series, trucks and Xfinity maybe exclusively, see some of those drivers actually racing those truck and Xfinity guys.
Yeah, it's given some good chances to see how drivers in equal footing equipment try and fare out. That's in terms of setups, mind you, on the racetrack, and see how they're able to adapt and how well they compete. Lennon Huffman's been very impressive, as he actually got a new rig this week, for example. First race in it, competed in Anthony Alfredo's ERL league, came away with the checker flag in a bump and bang finish with Blake Reynolds. He might be someone who's a threat, for example. You've got Alex Obey, that's been very impressive and very consistent. You've had Chase Cabry, who competes in the ARCA Menards series, but also in the World of Outlaws iRacing World Championships. That's competed well so far in Saturday Night Thunder. It's given a lot of chances to put some eyeballs on some drivers you normally wouldn't see up towards the front in other circumstances, in some cases.
It is, and it's going to be fun watching these guys as they make the gold rush back to real racing. Of course, NASCAR recently announcing that they're going back racing out there on the road, aren't they? May 17 over at Darlington for the Cup Series. Sorry, very tight schedule they've got. Maybe they'll be used to that after the tight schedules they've had in iRacing over the past couple of weeks, racing almost every day it seems. Be interesting to see who actually keeps going on iRacing and shows their face every now and then, because it certainly brought some new professional drivers to the service. But let's keep our focus here on NIS now as we come back to the green flag. Caden Honeycutt taking us to it.
Great launch once again from Honeycutt. No tire spin, it looks like, for the top drivers. In fact, they got single file, the quickest they have all night tonight, Ryan, at the front.
It is very good, and there's side by side behind. That was very tight up on the top of the racetrack. The 4-car there finally finds that hole to get into and slots down. A caution's going to come out. There's the car around in the background up against the fence.
Oh, it's Barry.
Down. It was, oh, yes, no, big shame. Big damage to the rear of that car. And I think you might have to take responsibility for that one, Justin.
Little bit, maybe. Just maybe. Hard-fought battle, mind you. This was side-by-side into turn 3 with one of the low-line machines, I believe it may have been. No, Marosio, I should rather say. And then Jaskowski makes it 3, but by race car for the 73/6.
I do not understand how it happens every time without fail, Justin. There's 36 drivers we could have talked about, but we decided to talk about him. And then he crashes. It's just... Commentator's curse is a real thing. I don't think you can ever dispute that it is not, because evidence is overwhelming. So Honeycutt, top 3 remains unchanged. I was going to point out that Bolton was about to make a move on Doucette before that caution came out, but then it did. So we put ourselves back under the very slow speeds of the iRacing.com Ford Mustang pace car, doing 72 kilometers an hour out there, which is something in miles, about 100 and something, 105 maybe.
Well, it is a 1-mile racetrack, so we're coming to 111 miles to go. So, yeah, 1 mile a lap, 111 miles to go, Ryan.
Just shy of halfway in this one. You see who got the lucky dog at that time then. There's a couple cars a lap down due to incidents, and it is that man right there, the number 24, Steven Steffen, gets himself back on the lead lap, but he might be in contention by the end of this race because that car is looking pretty clean at the moment. Still 30 cars on the lead lap. Dustin Johnson, the solitary car a lap down. And then a lot of retirements though. Brad Wright, Patrick Moose, Joe Krev, Alan Ballacino, Larry Pace, and Robert Miller are all many laps off. They're not all retired though, I should point that out. They are just quite a few laps down, having got repairs done, because as you can see, Ballacino on the racetrack still getting some of his damage fully repaired, but they are unfortunately just hoping there's a lot of drama in the last part of this event and they can pick up a few spots.
Yeah, exactly, and that's what you stay on the racetrack for. You're hoping to gain spots for the drivers who end up blowing their motors and are out for the race. Keep in mind as well, if you elect to stick around and repair your motor, if you're at the beginning of the race and have it done, why not stick around and get a pop, get a drink, maybe some popcorn, watch the carnage, hope for more carnage, and repair your engine over the span of 35 minutes and then see where you cycle out depending on how many cars are multiple laps down to the racetrack. So that may be the strategy for some of these drivers tonight. Keep on chugging along, preserve iRating, try and gain as many points as they can.
Most certainly. And for the drivers who are at the front of this field, the cautions are going to be frustrating because it's not coming for those drivers, is it? It's incidents further back that keep putting a damper into their efforts. But we get to this point now where you start to expect a long run to come as everyone checks their aggression a little bit and settles in. Lap 90 at 200, we could go a full fuel run window. If we do get to that, we're going to really see who's got a long run versus a short run car, and maybe start to worry about keeping your tyres in check to avoid those tyre failures, because it has been a talking point here at Dover with the how aggressive it is on the right side of the car with the aggressive banking this place has.
And a couple drivers actually said this on social media after the race, Ryan, where they blew tires in the race running the top line, trying to stay out of trouble. Some blew 2 of them. Some of them blew tires down the pit lane. That's how much the tire wear is factored in. Once you reach 0% on any of the trends, the inside, the outside, or the middle tread on a tire in iRacing, that tire will blow, and you are a sitting duck and have to hope you can get off the racetrack and down the pit lane. At the pace we're going, might not be a factor tonight if we keep on being caution-free cautions.
Yeah. Well, let's see if they can get a good run in here. You see all the virtual fans up there on the overhead Ally Bridge as we get set to come back to the green. Barney holding that flag at the ready. And it's going to fly as we come across the stripe. Caden Honeycutt with a good launch ahead of Ryan Doucette. Bolton, Mains, 3rd and 4th. Gostecki will take 5th around the outside. And then Joseph Gallotta's going to slot in line on the outside of 3, almost entering that corner. And sharp defense there from Austin Yarborough. He gets shoved up the racetrack by Gallotta. Going to lose a couple of spots now as Jonathan Dalrymple gets to his inside.
Yeah, he really tried to block that bottom side. We talked about it. If you leave the bottom open, somebody's going to force the way through. A little bit over-aggressive, and you've seen a bit of the frustration. On the bright side, only lost a position in the process. Actually forced a side-by-side toward the 9th position.
Yeah, Steve Sheehan takes away the spot then from Dalrymple, who's going to lose out, and momentum too for Jose Solis Jr. So poor old Dalrymple goes from potentially getting the free spot to losing a couple of spots, because the 11 is going to follow him through as well. John Gorlinski's trying to make something happen on Dalrymple. Once you do get up top, when you're in the middle of the pack, very easy for a freight train to form, and you can't really stop the leak until now you get an opportunity to get down in line.
Yeah, and this is now where you try and focus on a rhythm. If you see someone make a mistake, then go for it. Otherwise, just ride. That was the mindset on Tuesday. Needs to be the mindset for these drivers right now.
Up at the front, you're watching then on a board with Garrett Mains in 4th. Justin Bolton chases Doucette. takes a higher line through the middle, cuts down and gets some momentum off the corner. That was no accident. He set himself up to get the move done in turn 3, or at least get the overlap. Now he's alongside. He will try to keep himself there and pull it off here through 1 and 2. Mains closes right up to them though as they sew themselves up, going side by side. Move complete for Bolton. Mains follows him through. Doucette's got to watch out for Kostecki. Almost into the fence. Kostecki has to dive to the left-hand side.
Very, very tricky again off that corner exit to make sure you don't slam that wall. But now this has just made things very dicey. To get back to the point though of Bolton, who's up to second spot, had one of the quickest cars, remember, on Tuesday. Looks like he's brought that same speed today because he's now has a chance to take this race lead away.
He does. Look at him all over the back of Caden Honeycutt, who, well, we're pretty sure has a long run car versus a short run car. So Bolton might be quicker right now. Whether that stays the same and if fuel up to time remains to be seen. So he'll want to complete this move before that switches over in favour of Honeycutt. And before Garrett Mains recovers, maybe even Kostecki showing some good pace there in 4th as well.
Here's the thing, we've seen that differential between Doucette and Honeycutt. Haven't had much of a sample size quite yet with Bolton in the 2nd position. He's been having to pass other cars much of this race tonight. Now he's in the position where he can try and save, try and get some extra tire life in. He's really strong in corner entry just to make sure he can keep up with Honeycutt here, and once he gets the chance, he can jump and would open up the door for Mains, Kostecki, and that 31 machine all behind.
That's half the race distance then, as we hit lap 101 of 200. And we're 11 laps or so into this stint after a string of cautions around lap 80 mark onwards. And a good battle then at the front. Kostecki and Gallotta pretty close for 4th too. Top 8 coming by a second across the stripe at that time. But trainer cars almost going back down the whole field. No one's got a full margin on anyone at the moment. In a very tight field at the moment. Honeycutt's now starting to pull a margin, isn't he?
And there's that long run pace starting to kick in, and again has the clean air to be able to calm down. Doucette though just got shuffled hard up the racetrack, loses a couple more spots.
Lost in ahead of Gorlewski on board with him. That's Doucette right in front. That white number 4 car riding the inside of 3 and 4 behind Sheehan. Couple Coca-Cola Series drivers up into this mix then as Bolton way up the racetrack there, trying to get a run. Gonna give him a good burst of momentum down into 3 and 4. It's not quite close enough though. Really checked up Mains in the corner there.
Now really backed up the corner, and that's again the difficulty here with drivers on the short run. You're trying to make sure you don't run over the car in front.
Contact Kostecki, left rear, almost hooked hard enough by Gallotta to turn him around. He got a little bit loose, had to wrestle that thing to keep it straight. But that checked up everyone behind him, and losing out will be Doucette, in fact. Gallotta got to his outside, but he should at least be able to fend him off. But Gallotta, got to be careful. That's not the first time he's got real close to someone's left rear today.
Has to be extremely careful in this dicey pack, and Bolton, I think again, is just trying to tire save. Lost about a 10th last time by, yes, but it's going to be curious to see if he can keep up with Honeycutt and keep an eye, I think, on drivers like Mains and Kostecki, because they have been fairly quick throughout the week on the long run as well. And if they start to fight, that will lose them some time and give Bolton a chance to breathe.
Honeycutt now has a lead of 0.4 of a second over Justin Bolton. 2/10 later back to Mains. And the ensuing Pat behind him on board with Kostecki's. Showing the nose, trying to take those shallow entries. Not quite working out for him though. He's got the pace over Mains, but not able to get by him. This might be the run he needs. If he goes for the lunge on the inside of 1, he does get the overlap, and Mains allows him the door on the inside, leaves it open, trying to get down in front of Gallotta. He's gonna do it. Good awareness from Mains, just stop the flow. looking for it really opens up there, and now Gallotta's going to lose out. He goes up the racetrack, and Sheehan slides on by him.
I think Maines knows that Kostecki is one of the quicker cars on the racetrack with how close he was getting to the back bumper. Playing a bit more conservative this race, because you don't want to end up getting the bump and run or contact from behind and getting sent around. It's a chance to breathe here as Doucette, that Nexus machine is going backwards still.
It is. He was just on the inside of Gallotta there after his move up the racetrack, and Gallotta was able to fend him off up on the high side. So he's gone back to P7 after that little error. And Caden Honeycutt starting to look really comfortable out in the head of the field. Kostecki's starting to run down Justin Bolton. He's one of the quickest cars on the track. We'll see if he's quick kiss this time by. Honeycutt runs 22.629, 22.69 Bolton, 22.692 for Kostecki. So top three are really close on pace here. Rest of the field is about 2 tenths further back in terms of pace.
Yeah, not completely surprised when it comes to the pace because Kostecki, known for his abilities on the sim, whether it's driving or in self-knowledge, Bolton, very strong driver when he gets himself a consistent run. In Honeycutt, again, a short track ace. Runs a lot of short track races in the Arkansas Series, a part-time schedule. Always a threat here, but it looks like Maines' speed is starting to fall off a bit, and a lot of the other cars who competed on Tuesday were able to take what they learned and adjust. They're coming forward.
The drivers tucked up in organisations that have other drivers in those Tuesday night races in the Coke Series, they are going to probably find themselves going forward too. They'll have that knowledge stored away in their minds and in the notes section for the setup, and adjustments have already been made, I'm sure, ready for it. That is Maines then. In fourth place at the moment, but that's Sheehan right in behind him. Jeremy Allen, Gallotta and Doucette starting to line up as well, ready to pounce on him. It's something we've seen with Maines all season, isn't it, Justin? He's in and around the top 5, hasn't had the outright pace, and as the run goes on, he starts to drift backwards.
Almost wonder just maybe a little bit too hard on the short run, trying to press, and that's something that he has been working on, know that for a fact, to make sure he can stay calm, cool, and have consistent finishes. Consistency is the key, mind you, to battle for, say, an NIS championship. And I think that's kind of the mantra for him right now at this point. Keep in mind, too, we talked a little bit about the setup knowledge for, say, the Coca-Cola teams. Mind you, are a lot of teams in tonight's race who have alliances and help out with some of those various teams for Tuesday nights who have some of the knowledge, depending on their agreements, to learn from them to be able to adjust for this race tonight.
A very big web of interconnected teams and drivers in iRacing to form the ranks from rookies up to world championship teams and drivers to make it all happen. That's us Johnson, by the way, without the front end, going a lap down up on the top side of the racetrack. And, well, when you talk about consistency being the key to a championship, I do believe Garrett Maines is actually leading the NASCAR iRacing Series open standings at the moment after 11 or 12 or so weeks. So he's doing a pretty good job so far. It's as the season gets towards the end, though, when the drop round starts coming and the guys have missed a few races here and there start to bounce back. That's when the consistency really comes in.
Absolutely. But you don't want to end up relying on the drops, right? You want to have as good of a run each and every week to perform not just for yourself, but for your entire team and your various sponsors, depending on your organization. Very tight as one car bounced off the wall.
That was the 31 that got up into the fence there. Might have just missed it and had to... You know, you often get this, that was Gallotta. So, you know, Justin, when you're on the track and you think you're going to hit the fence, you yank that wheel to the left just a little bit to avoid it. In doing so, you do turn a little bit longer than you need to. So your car moves to the left, it comes on front straight or the back straight, which makes it seem to hit the fence, but you're just sort of almost driving around it, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, I kind of know exactly what you mean there, where at the same time, if you turn it too much, you're ending up snapping loose, or if you hit the gas too hard, you're flying up it looks like it may be the case for the 31 where he pushed too hard on the short run. Had exactly what you talked about. Too much heat inside the right front tire. Now is plowing tight and having to back off the gas a lot to make the corner without tapping a wall.
His lap times are not ones to be envied. He's half a second off the pace that time. So, struggling a bit as lap traffic starting to be a big factor for your race leaders too. They are in the thick of it at the moment, and Justin Bolton's lapping a tenth of a second quicker now than Caden Honeycutt. So, keep an eye on that one as it goes on. He's starting to really run him down. Honeycutt's finally equalised at this time. Further back in 20th place, Brian Mercurio trying to find his way by the car in front. Not quite sure who that is. It might be Justin Levine, and it is.
We talked about the championship battle. He's amongst one of the drivers inside the top 5 at the moment. 3 of the top 4 cars have significant damage on this racetrack, mind you, Ryan, coming into tonight in the overall point standings. Already down to the pit lane mates. It's Stiver who came in second. Levine's had a rough night. And then you have Moose, who is also down and just got past the 35th position. It's not been a pretty night for some of the drivers in the championship hunt to Dover, and this may, unfortunately for them, lead to the dives as Gorlinski's coming down low.
I don't know whether he was coming to pit road or he had a slide away. He almost ended up in the water coolers there. On the entry, the water barriers on the entry to pit road. Had to yank that thing to the right to avoid them. Very close there for John Gorlinski. Just avoided the fence, and then through the corner, what did he get loose? Was he trying to come? I think he was trying to come, wasn't he, to pit road?
Yeah, he was having an up and down race. Yes, in the top 10, got a bit of a bobble, and James Moas gave him a shot just off turn 2. And may have said, you know what, I want to try and pull it down to the pit lane. Got a bit of damage here. Missed it the first time, now down the second time. And now down the pylon for Gorlinski.
See if that works out. He's going to lose a lot more time than he would have then, and he's going to find himself probably 2 laps off the pace as a result of that. So he's going to be hoping they've been away to be a world of hurt.
You know what?
In terms of caution.
The Ryan, the strategy call might make sense at the same time, though. As this has gone on, a lot of cars are now 50 or so laps in the stint. Remember, the max amount of tire where you can get about 70 laps, give or take, has been the target to go the very longest. Fuel, you can go up to lap 86 at the very most in the tank. Gorlinski said, you know what, I'm in the thick of traffic, may as well try the undercut, see if it works. But he'd have to go one of the longest stints in the entire week to do it and hope it stays green.
Yeah, well, the issue for him, it might have worked, but I think you lose too much time in making that error coming to pit road, so that's why you got to practice coming to pits, because you can really ruin your race, because I did that once in a race too, missed pit road, trying to come down, ruined my event, went from the top 5 to finishing in 20th place, something like that, because you can't get back that lap. You lose an extra lap, or you lose an extra half of a lap, it's like 30 seconds you cost yourself, because you slow right down a pit road pace almost. Then you got to gather it back up and then come back down again. So very tough for Gorlinski. He's now going to work his way by all the slower traffic too.
Lost him at least 5 seconds at the very minimum. It's such a hard pit lane to try and enter to during a green flag run, because to have the most optimal pit road entry, you're going to have to stay on the banking in turn 3, then get on the brakes, turn hard left to have a variously big transition, 24 degrees to 0 degrees to the apron, and hope you can lock it up in time to get into the pit lane. A couple drivers spun out and missed the pit lane in the Cup Series race, including guys like Zelensky, like Novak. So the best of the best even made mistakes coming down that pit road, especially with all the marbles that built up during this race.
The extra pace he has as he rears onto the back of the lapped car and the lead lap car, takes them both around the outside. That is John Gorlinski absolutely flying out there. So let's just tell you how much quicker he is. He's just done a 21, so he's done a 22.2. He was 4 tenths slower than his previous lap because of the traffic. Second quicker than Honeycutt. And he could probably go even faster if he didn't have the traffic to contend with.
Yeah, the fastest lap times in the 21.5s to 7s at the moment. But it becomes the question, what do you do if you're the rest of the field now? Because some of the drivers deep in the field are coming down, mind you. Alex Huffman, I should rather say, pardon me, the nickname there, much some of the drivers mixing up the strategy, for example, but depending on when you come down, it might be the difference between winning and losing this race. If it goes green, it might be an optimal strategy for, say, Bolton, for example, Ryan, to try the undercut and get in front of Honeycutt with a good pit exit.
Yes, exactly. It's been half a second behind him, and, well, a second a lap. You get that with just a one-lap undercut, so definitely an option for him. Pretty tight action here. Right in behind Adam de Blasio. Ryan Mercurio trying to fight away by. Jonathan Dalrymple gets a bit loose off the corner, Justin Levine's in there. They've come very close to ending up 3 wide at various stages over the last couple laps. Zach Hudson in there too. Now he gets to the outside, just Justin Levine. Ryan Mercurio. And it's going to work for him because de Blasio lifted off and let him go. That checks up Levine massively, who was behind him at the time. Really gets unfortunate with that. And did a good job not to turn him around.
Yeah, it looks like de Blasio has absolutely fried the tires here with how slow he's going. I think if I was him, get over the radio, say, I've got a tire problem. Go, 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 and find your way to pit lane, because the more you stay on the track at this point, the more time you're going to lose, and he's lost tons of it now, these past 2 laps.
He has got no grip on the right side of that car. It's almost as if it's blown, isn't it? But it might have gone there, in fact.
Oh!
Up into the fence, up into the marbles, and he needs to get himself down to pit lane because that car is fighting on a very, very downward slope at the moment.
Yeah, he has to come down.
Was his last lap. That's over 3 seconds adrift.
He has to come down. That tire has to be just about blown. It looks like he is. Looks like he said, you know what, I have enough. They do get a warning in the car if one of the tires get to 20%. Definitely might have been one of those cases there.
You're right about that. But our race leaders are yet to pit. Bolton has reeled in your race leader, Caden Honeycutt, from half a second down to a quarter of a second now between them. So these guys might fight on the track here. Now's when Bolton should pit, because he's right there and he'll get by him, even if he has a couple tenths slower in lap or time pit lane. He'll gain about a second out there on the outlap over Honeycutt. Here comes Gorlimski, by the way. He's about to unlap himself. We'll get one of his laps back at least.
Just again shows a bit of the mistake there. Before 2 laps down, now just a 1 lap down because of that missed pit lane. But here's the thought process again, Ryan. You don't want to end up coming in and having a caution flag come out with the mix of different drivers on different tire cycles, because that's where you never know what's going to end up happening. You don't want to be pinned a lap down, lose all your track position, and end up losing the race potentially in that regard because of that mistake. So many drivers on Tuesday said if they got to this case, they would stretch it as long as they can. If I was Bolton and Honeycutt, yes, think of the undercut, but try and stretch as much as you can as we take a look at the replay because of a bit of trouble.
This is Joseph Gallotta coming down the back straightaway. What's going on for him? Is he trying to come to pit road and maybe lost it? No, he just lost on the entry into the corner, slid his way down into pits behind and into the fence he went. And toes back the last couple hundred meters to the pits. And now he's retired from the race.
He said it himself, Ryan, in the text chat to all drivers and teams. He didn't practice the pit road entry. May have been vital because you see the results as Doucette makes his way to the pit lane.
Well, these guys, they're racing away just in front of your race leaders, so if they come to an incident, another thing to factor in with laps cars, isn't it, that on a track like this, especially, so any of the short tracks as well, obviously this isn't the short track, but with how tight it is, it almost feels like it sometimes, Justin, with all the lap traffic, that if they have an incident, often the lead lap cars can get involved.
Absolutely, especially when you have cars missing pit lane, like the 36 right here, when you have the 2-second lap differential for some of these competitors. Again, that's why in some cases drivers would elect to stretch it out in case there is a caution, because if you stay out, it might be the difference between, say, hitting your normal cycle and finishing, say, top 15, or being up at the front and, say, coming away with the top 5 as a result.
Ooh, the traffic that they've got now. 4 cars racing for position right in front for 12th place. Dalrymple up on the top, Levine down low, Hudson and Honeycutt's going to get by 2 of them. That was Alex Huffman, the first car that they got by. And now he's going to get held up, isn't he? Levine's racing Dalrymple for position. He doesn't want to move over, and Honeycutt's got nowhere to go.
This is getting very tight here, and it looks like Honeycutt's coming down. He's coming down out of the traffic.
It's to Bolton. Bolton's pitted, hasn't he?
Yes, indeed, he did come down. Yeah, Bolton's at the very end of the pit lane here. It's going to be crucial once Bolton gets out of that pit box. Needs a perfect out lap to be able to gain as much time as he can here.
The music of Bolton pitted a lap before Honeycutt. He's coming out of pit road while Honeycutt comes into his pit bay. That's how long you spend touring pit lane before you even get to your pit box. He comes out of the racetrack now, Justin Bolton, right in behind Justin Levine and Bryson Hicksonville. And Doucette will go by him too. That's not for position. And let's see where Honeycutt joins in. It is for position, in fact. So Doucette's jumped him. Honeycutt's through the middle of 1 and 2. It's going to be tight, I think.
And he's got him.
Oh! It's going to be... Wow! Honeycutt was trying to push Doucette through. Doucette had to check up as Honeycutt came out right in front of him, and Steven Steffen just got in the way of those guys. So somehow Honeycutt fends him off.
That's not going to be a popular move. Not a popular move at all, because Honeycutt came up and tried to squeeze the lap car, used him as a pick, and all Doucette and Bolton could do was slam on the brakes to make sure that they didn't wreck going down the back straightaway. Would have been way too risky to go 3 wide in that situation. Not going to be the most popular move there to check up the drivers coming in full speed.
The replay there. I don't think he did anything wrong there, Justin. He kind of held his line. It was just unfortunate it was a left car to was outside.
It was just, I think, partly, yeah, the timing of it, of when he came out of that pit lane, absolutely. But it definitely was to his advantage to have that car put up the line. Otherwise, they would have been able to easily get around that middle line and go side by side for the lead at full speed.
Fortune favouring Honeycutt then. But he doesn't lead the race just yet. A few drivers yet to pit. Austin Yarborough, Thomas Hazard, Johnny Borderidge, and John Gorlinski has actually got himself. Steve Sheehan is the effective race leader. John Gorlinski second. But they're on much older tyres already. And Honeycutt's coming now on the back of the back of Gorlinski. And he picks him off very easy. So the extreme undercut has its deficits, doesn't it? Because now he is on, 20 lap older tyres than these guys?
Yes. Yeah, that is massive right now. And more dicey moves for Bolton. Second time he's had to check up 2 wide with lap cars.
That big undercut strategy, this is where Gorlinski really hopes for a caution. When everyone's cycled back onto the lead lap, he needs Yarborough, Hazard and Tweaker to pit. That he's going to hope for a caution, and he'll come back down. He will have gained positions, but in a few laps' time, he'll be further back than he was before he pitted.
Look at how dicey it is right behind Yarborough, though, with all the drivers on fresh tires. He's not making it easy for them either. Electing to stay on the bottom side as they'll have to dodge some more cars here. This has been dicey. And Baldridge gonna make it even more tougher.
He's hoping for a caution here, Yarborough. If one comes out, he's put himself in a very good spot because the drivers behind, even guys like Honeycutt now are going to be looking at taking tyres when the caution comes out because they've been out there long enough. But, you know, they have to take the wave around to get the lap back. So at this point, Yarborough's in a very good spot. He would be able to restart the lead of the race, or at least the top 3, and have a big advantage in terms of tyre wear too, so the guys took the wave around. So the strategy works for Yarborough if the caution comes out. If it doesn't, he's going to find himself buried in the field.
Especially since Honeycutt just unlapped himself. There's only now a few cars on the lead lap. Yarborough, Hazard, Toyota, Honeycutt, Sheehan, Bolton, all those drivers at the moment.
Oh,
how many cars in trouble?
And Sheehan shoots back up the track. Somehow we don't get a caution. It was 3 wide down the main straight, and Sheehan just got into the left rear of Austin Yarborough, who went for a wild slide to the inside with Sheehan. Somehow they didn't spin.
Yeah, it looked like Sheehan was absolutely trying to check up to make sure they didn't go 3 wide into turn 1 there. But just when he might have tapped the brakes or got off the gas, it shuffled the car to the right into Yarborough. Yarborough's lucky to keep on rumbling, but still loses him a lot more time on the racetrack.
He's now allowed Bolton and Honeycutt back onto the lead lap, so the strategy is almost gone for him already. There's now 8 cars on the lead lap. There's still quite a few that have chucked the lap down. Some of those are extremely early, like really hurt, isn't he? He's a lap back and not going to improve because he can't catch Yarborough. His tyres are older than his.
Keep in mind, too, Yarborough is just about on the edge of the fuel tank, if not just about out right now. Now, 87 laps of the stint. If he doesn't come down in the next couple laps, I'll be shocked.
Good news for him, if he pits here, he could still be in a good spot because he'll have very fresh tyres for the run at the end, especially if there's a late caution. He might decide to stay out. I don't think he's got enough time to catch back up to the lead lap, because he'll definitely drop off it, but caution comes out, who knows what may happen. But still, he's staying out there on the racetrack. Surely getting towards that window with the tyres start to get really dicey.
Surprised still again how long he stretched out. Remember, he's had a couple caution laps, but some of the others are flying through the field who took a bit of a longer stint on their tires. Allen able to get by drivers like Doucette, who is on 4-lap older tires, while Sheehan, that damage is absolutely hurting him. He's been falling behind, and he's on some of the older tires in the field. Very intriguing how this is all played out, to say at the very least, though, Ryan. And I think right now, again, the caution laps allow them to save a lot more fuel, mind you, and I think that it's coming into play. Might have thought about it there. Had to go 132 miles an hour the whole entire apex to make the corner.
24 flat, here's the last lap time. And Gorlinski's going to get himself back on the lead lap. Tyres have jumped off so much now for Young that Gorlinski's able to get back by him. Put himself back on the leading lap of this one and back into the same cycle-ish of your effective race leaders. Thomas Hazard hasn't pitted either. Don't forget about him, second place. He's on the same strategy with the Yarborough at the moment.
I believe he was one of the cars who did some of the undercuts, or rather came down some of the caution flags, so we can make it another, give or take, 10 more laps or so in the fuel maybe, but already lost second position. The drivers on fresh tires are coming in fast because of some of the stack-ups in the lap traffic. 4-second gap between him and the next position, and Yarbrough's in.
Finally decides that enough is enough, and he brings it down to pit road. He'll try to pull it up without sliding through his blocks. Extremely easy to do on the concrete, especially with 80-lap older tyres. Thomas Hazard stays out on the racetrack then, last car not to pit. Honeycutt's got by him to take away the race lead. So too is Justin Bolton.
At the very least, going to lose the lap here, but be one of the fastest cars on the racetrack afterwards. But Honeycutt He's just been able to put on a clinic here once he's got these long runs. The fastest car at the track in 22.6s. Only a couple others are even within a tenth or two of him. Just been a great day for him today, to say the very least. While James Mullins, he wants to take advantage of that damage to the back end for Josh Berry for a top 10 here, it looks like.
Yarborough almost spun coming out of pit lane. He had the 2 tires in the grass coming onto the back straightaway. He was struggling for traction out there on his cold rubber. So that's going to hurt him a little bit. But he cycles to a solitary lap down to then. And he'll have to fight by 8 cars to get the lucky dog spot.
Now, mind you, they also passed by Team Latoyko, who's also still trying to stretch to stay on the lead lap if they get a caution flag without a front end. But keep an eye on Yarborough's pace. He is one of the last cars a lap down, so has to make up a ton of time. But there's a chance he can try and recover a top half of the field finish here if he gets a long enough run here and is able to catch up to some of these cars, especially if they keep on fighting. If you're in the case of, say, Mullins, who is still trying to find a way around Berry without that back end.
Ed Honeycutt must be praying this one's going to stay green, then out front with a margin of 3.4 seconds back to Justin Bolton, and they're lapping the same, so the gap is staying pretty constant. A very good spot at the moment. Brody Costecchi up there in third, doing a very good job. The solitary Aussie in the field. Always good when an Aussie takes it to the Yanks in NASCAR, Justin.
As a Canadian, don't know that exact feeling, to be honest.
What about what
a Canadians like to... Go ahead.
What about when a Canadian takes it to the Yanks?
Oh yeah, that's absolutely a happy feeling for some of these drivers.
And we are both going to get on the next grid then, because this broadcast, I'm pretty sure, being watched by 90% Americans at the moment.
Yeah, but take a look at this with the Yarborough. This might make things interesting for this Mullins battle here. Forced Berry off the bottom, but Berry's still able to get a good run by diming the corner. Looks like Mullins might be starting to burn up his stuff a little bit to try and keep up. Berry's just a couple on 100 slower, but it's still tricky to get a run when it's that small of a margin between lap times.
It's wild how fast Yarborough is compared to some of these drivers at the moment. It's a very tricky thing when you have fresh tyres to get by the lap cars, because you want to keep all the speed you can, but you've got to be patient, because if you try to get by them at the wrong spot, you know, they're not expecting it, there's going to be contact, you're going to crash. So it may look easy when you're breezing by people, but it's really actually a little bit quite stressful trying to get by them.
Yeah, absolutely, and that's where it gets very tricky, and that's why drivers would prefer to stretch it out as much as they can, because you're hoping someone else does that, and that you're not the product of a collision in those types of groupings. So Yarborough's got to be very careful to get by some of these cars to make sure he doesn't cause any trouble. And also has to hope, I think, at this point, he gets to, at the very least, the lucky dog position, because he needs to get up to Golinski to have a shot if this race does get a yellow flag.
He is 3/4 of a lap ahead of him. So he's got a lot of ground to make up, but he is a lot quicker than him too. So keep our eyes on this as he catches Pedro Mega, goes to his outside, but he'll dive to the inside of Dalrymple, who gives him the spot. And then he's got Justin Levine, who'll go to the inside of him, has to dive down low off the exit of the corner there, unsettle the car just a little bit. Then Garrett Maines is the next car in line.
These are teammates, so I think this is going to be pretty easy this time for Yarborough. Yes, Maines lets him go quickly. Same case, I think, when Levine catches up here. It's just when you reach some of the other cars who might be trying to focus on their own position battles on the track, especially with them rapidly closing, where they might make it a bit more tricky, hold the bottom line, that you have to think about. For example, de Blasio, we've seen him backdrop. Levine's catching him for position, potentially. this race just naturally progressing, I think is the phrase you can put it here, Ryan, as. Keep an eye right now on what's happening with Justin Bolton, though. On those one lap older tires, something out of battles, mind you, too. Bolton's gaining about a 1/10 of a second lap.
Yes, it's down to 2 seconds. What did I say it was about 10 or so laps ago? 3.4 seconds?
Yes.
So there you go. Down by 1.4. 23.298 last time by for him. 23.3 for Caden Honeycutt. About 4 lapped cars in between them, and Bolton's just in the midst of a couple now. Gorlinski is one of them. We'll get via him relatively easily. And that time by, was he quicker? He wasn't. Honeycutt pulled the gap out by a little bit. It ebbs and flows as they catch lap traffic here.
Yeah, that's the tricky thing when it comes to traffic management, Ryan, is if you don't play it very quickly and cleanly, and you reach traffic in the wrong spot, especially if they're battling for positions, that's where you lose tons of time. This, for example, for position for Yarborough. If there's a lead car behind, you have to be very careful because you never know what's going to happen amongst these cars. So it's really a balancing act on trying to hope you reach the cars at the right time, hope the leader reaches traffic at the wrong points in time for them in the midst of fights, and for you to reel them in this little amount of time left in the race, if you're, say, Bolton, you need everything to go your way.
100% you do. It's coming down then towards 10 to go. The gap is down to 1.8. This is going to come right down to the wire here. Look at the wall of traffic in front of Caden Honeycutt, excuse me, that he's going to catch in a few laps' time. There's a lot of them on the back straight, and they've crashed! They've crashed on the back straightaway. Josh Berry goes around, middle of the racetrack on the entry to 3. Caution's going to come out, and the gap suddenly dissipates.
My goodness. Well, this makes things very fun for the checker flag, doesn't it? We talked about traffic. If you reach them in the wrong spot, it can cause problems. That was the case. That 36 nearly hit the wall and bounced right down to Berry.
This was the traffic that I had my eye on that Honeycutt was going to come up to soon. That would be very difficult for him because of how they were racing. And he's fortunate he hadn't got to them because look at that. Crash for Berry, and there's the leaders in the background there. So dangers of lap traffic. Luckily, none of the lead lap cars taken out, with the exception of Berry there, trying to find his way through. Modem simulation replay was the bring on that to you. Now, what does Honeycutt do? He pits. Someone, I could bet some money that someone is going to stay out from the lead lap.
That would be crazy talk. Let's put it that way. Yeah, you're not staying out on old tires at this point, unless you want to risk spinning in front of the field. You have to take 4 tires at this point with how many laps was turned. The difficult part is, if you're a lap car, do you take the wave around? Yarborough couldn't get to Gorlinski. Guess what? There's 10 cars in the lead lap because of that. Gorlinski gets the lucky dog.
Yeah, I think I was thinking along the lines of maybe the cars a lap down, rather. Guys like Yarborough. He hadn't quite got back to the lead lap, had he? So, yeah. The guys that went for the big overcut, they'll stay out, you would expect. Someone like Yarborough. But the issue for him is he's a lap down now. And is he in front of the race leader? That is what's crucial. He is. He's between the race leader and the pace car, so he'll get his lap back here. Will he? He should do.
Yeah.
He will. But he's going to be at the very back of the field, but he should be able to get a couple spots at least. Be interesting to see how far he can go. He's going to need a few things to go as well to get to the race leader. Going to be very tough. It's going to be about the guys. Caden Honeycutt, Justin Bolton. And has John Gorlinski propped into second? He has. Or is he going to take the hard left to pit road here?
He was the lucky dog, remember. He was the lucky dog, so he'll have to come back down.
Didn't get enough sleep. That's my excuse. It's a bit of a blur, Justin.
The interesting thing, though, is not just the wave around cars and how they'll handle the start, since they have to go full speed to catch up, and it's excessively tricky to make a start on older tires. If you're some of the other cars now, say Honeycutt, Bolton, how do you again approach the start? We talked about it, where it will come down to how Honeycutt dictates this start. At this many laps to go, you are not coming down again if you're on the lead lap. Whatever tires you're on, you're banking on it going your way and keeping the car clean. So it's down to how Honeycutt starts this run off the restart, Ryan, how Bolton responds, and if Bolton can somehow, some way get a run to the bottom side to make it side by side in corner entry.
No one's making friends in these last 7 or so laps we come to the green. It's all about fighting for yourself to put yourself in the best spot possible to try and get that victory. Here in the NASCAR iRacing Series, Honeycutt, Bolton, Kostecki, and Allen with the first 4 cars. Would think it'd be one of those 4 that gets it done. There's some big names lining up behind him. Guys like Garrett Maines, Steve Sheehan, John Gorlinski, Yarborough back on the lead lap. A lot can happen as we get the 1 to go signal. Lights are out on the pace car.
Keep in mind, we've seen Sheehan rushing out of the pit lane. That is because he had to take 6 seconds of optional damage repairs to fix his race car. We've seen some of his struggles on the last run after he had some of that contact with some of the traffic.
Tensions be high for the drivers now. The nerves as high as they are all race long as they get themselves set and ready to come to the green flag at a virtual Dover International Speedway. Through the high banks of 3 and 4, this is going to be a grandstand finish with 6 laps to go coming to the stripe. It's Bolton and it's Honeycutt off the front. Coming back to the start-finish stripe. Here we go. Let's go back racing. Green flag in the air. Great launch for Honeycutt. And Bolton's going to have an issue because Kostecki's got to his inside.
Exactly what Honeycutt wanted to see here. Just needs to hope that it stays clean and green. In these many fights, they were 2-3 wide off the jump.
Kostecki gets it done on Bolton. Doucette going to try to follow him through. Look out for James Mullen. He's been nowhere this race. Suddenly he's up into 6th place. And Honeycutt's got a margin of 6/10 over them already. As shooting up the racetrack goes Bolton. And this allows Mullins to his inside. And what about Jeremy Allen trying to get to the inside of both of them? Forces Mullins up the racetrack.
Trying to take advantage of that bottom side once again. He's not been afraid to make it 3 wide. But Doucette, can he get his way up to Kostecki? Fastest lap of the race this time by Honeycutt.
Honeycutt is running away up at the front. He's got the gap and he's not letting it slip right now. 7/10 over Kostecki and Doucette, who are separated by 2/10 themselves. All stacked up for 4th place. Jeremy Allen all over the back of Justin Bolton and to his inside. Bolton has not got fired off this restart. Not got the pace he had before the caution came out, and he is really struggling. Back into 5th now after restarting for 2nd.
Have to wonder what he adjusts in the pit lane to try and fire off better. Looks like it went the opposite direction, unfortunate for him, but Doucette's now the fastest car on the racetrack, and the caution flag is out.
We're gonna go to overtime here on the iRacing Esports Network. The green-white checkered gonna be required. Justin Levine with big damage on the front straight.
Take a look at the replay here to see what happened. Now back to 19th position was one of the drivers who were trying to come around the racetrack, took the wave around, were on much older tires, while a couple others were also looking to fight. Hazard, seen him try and stretch, was a bit fresher tires. Right there. Huffman actually hit the car behind Levine, and then Levine got hit because of that bump from behind from Hazard.
Maybe
just a chain reaction.
Yeah. Huffman did get caught up in it in the end as well, getting hit by the spinning car. Yeah, Hazard didn't want to be on the inside, did he? It just affected him, that bump, and he missed his line, trying to keep it glued to the bottom and wasn't ready for it. And so, who pit? Steve Sheehan is the first car into pit lane. He's followed by John Gorlinski. Austin Yarborough, Brian Mercurio, Jose Solis Jr., Hazard, de Blasio. A lot of people have pitted here. There was 19 on the lead lap. A top 10 off this restart, I think, will be old tyres. See how it shakes out.
Yeah, it's going to be fairly difficult. Mind you, if it was a fixed setup race, you'd be buckling on and holding on tight. Open races, it's not as much of the tire spin, but it's still a factor if you hit the gas too hard. I don't blame some of the cars, though, for coming in from what we've seen. Remember, a lot of them were wave-around cars, Ryan, so they needed to get the fresh rubber to be able to try and fight in case anything happens on these GWCs. Well, everyone else, as we mentioned, you don't want to sacrifice the track position. You are not coming down again and risking going to the back of the field.
For those new to iRacing, maybe new to NASCAR instead, or one or the other, maybe both, talk us through how's this going to work out, Justin? How's the green-white checkered system implemented?
Well, the green-white checkered system is implemented such as this, where you have 2 laps to get to the checker flag. If you get a caution flag during the first lap off the green-white checkered, they will restack them and rack them and have a second attempt. Same would happen on the second attempt. If the white flag is seen and reached by the race leader, the race is official. Anything can happen on that final lap. But if we go to a third green-white checkered, that's where if you get a yellow flag before they get to the white flag a third time, race finishes under caution, race is official at that point for whatever cars can make it to the checkered flag. In other words, it could be wild here off this start with how many cars looking to fight and others hoping to get to the white flag to get this race official.
Yeah, one to go signal on the caution period when we come into the start-finish line this time. How about Brody Kostecki up onto the front row then? The Aussie with NASCAR history going to be restarting outside row number 1. Can he challenge Honeycutt? Honeycutt has got a fantastic restart after fantastic restart every single time so far, but all it's going to take is one slip-up, and he's going to be under all sorts of pressure.
Yeah, he's got to be able to time up the start perfectly. I think if he can keep it side by side and try and press the driver below down, he might be able to do something. It's going to be tricky, but he might have a shot if he tries it that way. It's his best chance. Second chance, get a better start than the guys in row 2. Get to the bottom, right at the start and finish line. Try and attack Honeycutt as quick as you can, preferably by 3 and 4.
Thank you to everyone who's tuning in on YouTube and Facebook, on YouTube on the iRacing Esports Network. We hope you've enjoyed the show today from the Monster Mile for another round of the NASCAR iRacing Series each and every week at Friday on 9 p.m. Eastern Time. We broadcast what is generally the highest strength of field of the week's strength of field, we're going to call it. And it's proved to be one of the best races of the week for myself as a commentator, Justin. I don't know about you, but the action's been some pretty wild and fun stuff, and this restart is going to be no different. A green-white checkered to conclude the evening. We've got 2 more attempts should we need it. Can we do it on attempt number 1? Pace car gets out of the way. Caden Honeycutt in control of the field. Green flag out. Kostecki spins the tyres. He shoots up the racetrack, and Doucette goes through. And look at Jeremy Allen trying to cover off the inside from Bolton.
There was the tire spin we talked about. Now Doucette needs to try and somehow close up to Honeycutt. Everybody else crashing in the backdrop. Solis Jr. Golinski hard on the fence.
Caution's out then. We'll stack him up and try it again. That was Golinski. Hard into the fence. Honeycutt. He was so close to making it back to the white flag, but he's going to have to try one more time. Here's the motor simulation replay of what went on further back in the field, coming down the back straightaway.
And it looks like Orlenski knew there was a problem as soon as he got to the apex. Was way too high up, was already trying to put extra wheel in it to avoid the wall, to the point where it instituted so tight that he got loose. Nowhere to go for the 13, and the hard hit once again for the second GWC we go.
Got to be frustrating if you are Caden Honeycutt. You finally got the restart. Second place balked it up massively, but now you've got Doucette to your outside. He's been pretty good on the restarts all day today. He might not balk it up. He might go right with you off this restart and challenge you.
Yeah, it was just a matter, I think, of Kostecki hit the gas a little bit too hard, over-revved the back tires, and that led to the tire spin. Anything can happen. Honeycutt could even do that, mind you, Ryan, as the leader. So this is where, again, you have to be careful with how hard you hit the gas, and keep in mind, we might see a lot of these drivers risk starting in first gear. Others may play it safe and start in second gear to make sure they don't have as bad of the tire spin and get a better launch.
Exactly, and Kostecki's learned his lesson now. He knows the limits of his tires off this restart. He won't make that same mistake again. So he's going to get, you would expect him to get a good restart here from P3. Jeremy Allen was aggressive off his restart. He's outside now for this one. Still 20 cars on the lead lap. Anything can happen. Miles the Monster has tore up some pretty good race cars already today. Is there another twist yet to be told in this race? We're now a few laps past overtime. Fuel shouldn't be an issue, should it, Justin? All these drivers have pitted well inside the fuel window. No one's gone for a really long final stint. Yarborough was one of the drivers that would have been in trouble, but he's pitted since the green flag stop, hasn't he?
Yeah, you're not thinking about fuel at this point. You're just hoping that you don't get stacked up in any chaos in front of you. Focus on getting the best start possible. Battle for whatever positions you can. But also don't go too aggressive to the point where you end up hitting somebody in the quarter panel and you crash you and yourself and a bunch of better cars in the process. So you're not thinking about fuel at all, Ryan.
Let's go to the restart to try and get the best one possible. Jose Solis Jr. is not going to be able to come back to the green flag, at least not with much pace. His engine has seen better days. His car has seen better days. I'm sure Honeycutt's mental state has probably seen better days too, having to fend off 2 green white checkers late at Dover. But that experience in real life, I'm sure, beneficial to him, as he'll be able to draw on that to try and keep himself nice and cool, calm and collected.
Yeah, right now, if you're any one of his teammates, if you're Jake Matheson, the spotter, you're telling him, just be careful, stay calm, don't panic. If you panic, you'll make mistakes. And if you make mistakes, it's likely taking the whole field with you. So don't mess up. Just keep it calm and take a deep breath. Because if Honeycutt can get a good launch here, Ryan, it's his race to lose.
Exactly, and the spotters, they're a big part of this. A lot of the drivers are running him in the top tier of NASCAR racing and iRacing. A lot of the spotters are top drivers in themselves. Jake Matheson, he's been in this broadcast a few times, doing quite well. Will Norton was spotting for Ryan Doucette earlier on in the evening. So, a lot of very fast drivers helping out their teammates here, and you can see why these guys are as fast as they are. They're all helping each other out. Attempt 2 of 3 to get ourselves to a green flag finish at Dover. Green and white checkered on the iRacing Esports Network. A grandstand show for you guys today. Honeycutt takes us back to the green flag. Doucette slots in behind. Top 4, single file across the stripe. Here we go.
Good launch by Honeycutt. He got the start he needed, but Doucette, remember, is fairly quick on the short run, and he's closing in somewhat quickly for the back.
Caution's going to come out again. Big crash, and we're back under the yellow.
Oh,
Steve
JD.
Sheehan. Thomas Hazard. A wild ride. Shot way up in the air, came to a rest on his roof, down on the apron. It started with Steve Sheehan. Snap of oversteer, and that car took a hard ride up in towards the drivers out of the fence. Oh, sorry, it was the guy behind him. The She also had a tag slapper in front, and then they wrecked on the edge of the 3.
I think some of the emotions are definitely going to start boiling over after that one. Just, why say this with Hazard? They're sending it through a gap and flooring in a gap, and then there's that where got a hit on the quarter panel, trying to go for the only hole left. The cause of the caution flag, mind you, was Yarborough getting loose on the bottom of the racetrack, trying to keep it off Norden. Norden gets squished, and everybody else straight in for the most part, and then stacked up in the second instance.
Well, next week we go to Martinsville, don't we? And,
oh boy.
Tempers, if they're hot after this, well, how's it going to be after we go short track racing at the paperclip?
Fairly hot.
Yeah, it's a great little stretch of events, isn't it? The last few weeks. Bristol, Richmond, Talladega, Dover, Martinsville. Dustin Johnson gets a lucky.
Yeah. To answer the question, though, I honestly love Martinsville with the type of racing, lots of bumping and banging, yes, but it's a very fun rhythm track, in my opinion, where if you save your tires well enough in the first 10, 15 laps, you'll turn into one of the fastest cars for the next 20 to 70 laps. It's just a matter of no trouble, of staying out of contact and trouble at this point, but here at Dover, Miles the Monster was hungry for the second GWC. He got a boatload of cars. There are only, I think, 11 on the lead lap left.
14, I think, but yeah, not many. Not many. I fear them are in pit road.
Yeah.
Right on that one. I mean, they have unlimited attempts now in real life in NASCAR, the overtime, as it's now called, to get it going. But we can't really do that at iRacing. It's a lot easier to crash in iRacing because the spread of the drivers is often quite big. And top split, not really the case, but you also got to think about the drivers who don't have the time to build their riding up. They might be just as talented, but maybe they're starting off for whatever reason. The guys further down in other splits, the further down you go, the bigger the talent spread becomes from, you know, the highest star rating to the lowest star rating, and you can't have unlimited attempts. So you've got to find a restriction at it, and 3 attempts is what we've settled out on iRacing, which is what the limit was in real life too for a while, so it's a good number. And I think we should see a green flag finish here. I think East drivers are good enough to make themselves do at least a lap before they wreck.
Yeah, I think that's going to be the goal for a lot of these cars. Just get to the white flag. Whatever happens after the white flag, you never know. But at this point, just have to take a deep breath. Remember, we had a long green flag run to this race, Ryan. About 106 laps in total. They are able to do it. It's just you need to take a deep breath and don't let the emotions get in your way and cause all these incidents in total. Or in turn, rather.
It happened at the back end of a race. The aggressions are high. You don't want to let anyone get by you. Happens in sim racing and in motorsport across every category. It's to be expected. And on certain tracks, mistakes are punished harder than others. This track definitely punishes you a lot when you make a mistake. Poor old Honeycutt. He's got to do it again. He's restarted from position number 1 over half a dozen times today. One final time. He has got to nail this restart. Don't spin the tyres. Apply the traction perfectly. He's slightly less grip than last time, but still plenty of grip and available to him. Get to the inside and just hit your marks. Don't overdrive it. Don't worry about Doucette behind. If you lock that inside down, he can't get there. But it's a lot easier said than done. And this is going to be it. The final attempt to go racing once again in Dover. The NASCAR iRacing Series. Under the control of Honeycutt, the green flag back out. The third green-white checkered is green.
Good launch again by Honeycutt. Just needs to get himself to the white flag or get the checker flag. Perfect jump he needed.
Allen and Maines almost come together. Allen on the outside, whips around him. The take away P number 4. Mains into 5th. We're going to get the white flag one more time around at the Monster Mile. Doucette, 0.2 of a second behind Honeycutt. He's not close enough. Just one more corner to navigate there for Caden Honeycutt to come across the stripe and get him done at Dover through 3 and 4. He's fended him off on more than one occasion tonight. He gets it done. He wins here at Dover International Speedway.
Wild ending to this race, but Honeycutt made it clear he was the quickest car and driver on the track tonight. Him and that entire organization, I think, are about to celebrate as Kostecki gives him a very hard shove to say congrats.
And for not the first time today, this week, this season even, a first-time winner for the season on Friday night, and that makes it 11 from 11. The streak continues. We'll go to a break here on the iRacing Esports Network. We'll come back with results and post-race interviews. Stay with us. Welcome back to the iRacing Esports Network. We've wrapped up the racing here at Dover for round 11 of the NASCAR iRacing Series, our 11th different winner of the season here on a Friday night, the strength of field of the top split of this event. And it was your man, Caden Honeycutt, that got the win. Ryan Doucette second, Brody Kostecki, Alan Maines, the top 5, Bolton, Mullins, Yarborough, Hicksonbaugh, and Johnny Baldridge running out the top 10. Baldridge had a very quiet race, but a good result up there in 10th.
Timo Toika quietly to 11th. Then you have Mercurio in 12th. Rounding out the drivers of the lead lap, you have Jonathan Dalrymple in 13th position. Rest of the field, oh boy. Busy night at the virtual race shop. Sergio Lavere, 14th lap down. Justin Johnson, 3 laps down, 15th. Pedro Megan, 16th. Sheehan, 17th. Willis, Hazard, Solis Jr. rounds out the top 20.
You'll see the rest of the results cycle through on your screen because we're going to have a chat to our race winner, Caden Honeycutt. Congrats, your first win on a Friday night this season. Good job.
Thank you, sir.
It was a pretty tough old run towards the end. You had quite a few cautions to compose yourself and get a good restart. How was it for you as a driver trying to compose yourself to get the perfect launch so many times towards the end?
I think it was just a matter of not spinning the tires in first gear as we had to start in a really high gear, so we had to make sure on the next start. I wasn't really worried about the initial start after the after we pitted. I was really worried about the first green white checkered because they had a couple of laps on the tires and they were going to be a little heated up. So I made sure I didn't spin them, and Doucette was with my teammate, and I made sure that he got a good start too with me, so we can finish it off 1-2. So made sure we just didn't spin the tires and just bringing home the win and just keeping in one piece and not hit the apron or hit the wall or nothing. So So yeah, it's just a matter of not spinning the tires on those last starts, and we were able to not do that, fortunately, and bring home one.
Definitely a good result, and definitely didn't have it all your way. And it was a pretty good 106 run green flag stint in the middle of the race, which is fantastic to see. Just over half the race distance, run under one single run of green running. So you had a green flag stop in there. Did your strategy change much? Did you have that plan set in stone? Obviously, trying to navigate some of the lap traffic and a lot of different cars on different strategies there. Tough to navigate.
Yeah, I was really focused on what Bolton was going to do because that's who was the guy that I was going to beat was Justin. We pretty much had the rest of the field covered, so it was just a matter of when he was going to pit. And I did the same thing I did Wednesday with Brad Davies, who finished second in the Coke race. So I was just like, well, if I pit one lap after them, I could be able to maybe come out in front or right behind him and have one lap better tires. And both times I was able to get out in front of him. So I think pitting one lap after Justin did really helped out a lot. I think I would have had it even though it got cautions. I wish it still stayed green. I think I still would have had it. So yeah, I think if you pitted one lap, I've learned it the hard way in Road to Pro at Atlanta that I got pitted one lap after, and the tires were just so huge on this tire model. So just a matter of when he was going to pit, and I was going to pit right after when he did. So managed to work out, and glad it did. We bring home another win for Nexus, and hard work that's being paid off right now. It's really great.
In terms of sim racing, it's obviously very successful for you, but real racing, a big part of your life and career so far, developing up the ranks. You get to go back racing soon, hopefully. NASCAR are going back soon. I'm assuming that means you get to go back racing soon. Looking forward to that.
Oh yeah, I definitely am. We're actually going to be racing tomorrow night over at Southern Oklahoma Speedway in my Southern Sport Modified, and I was actually supposed to go to today, but some things didn't fall through, and that's all right. But the car's ready for tomorrow. I got everything ready for setup and ready to go to the racetrack tomorrow. I'm really excited about that. I think it will be our 5th or 6th dirt race of the season. We started back in January, so we've been on hold for quite some time now, and I've just been chomping at the bit just to get back after it. So I know everyone else is, and yeah, I'm really excited to get back to the racetrack tomorrow, and hopefully we can stay like that for the rest of the year. I know we might get in a couple of bumps here and there, but we'll just keep on getting our prayers in, and hopefully we can get through this as quick as possible so we can get everything back to normal.
Certainly. Well, best of luck for that. I'm glad whatever did fall through. We got to see you get the victory here at Dover. Before we let you go, who gets it done for you?
Nexus Esports for sure. Robert did a fantastic job. I cannot tell you how hard we worked on the set, and everyone that Nexus Esports has done. Also in our Road to Pro and everything else that we've done so far. It's just fantastic job by everybody. We just put in a lot of effort, a lot of time, and make sure everything's perfected. And we've managed to do that these last couple of weeks, which has just been great for us. So also want to thank FJ Foundation and over at Raceface Random Element, and yeah, just thank you guys for doing the broadcast as well. And I totally forgot that you guys do this, and I'll have to do this every Friday if I can. And yeah, just thank you guys, and hopefully we see y'all again next week.
Thank you very much. That was your race winner, Caden Honeycutt, then. Getting ready to go racing tomorrow night out in the real world. Best of luck to him for that. But standing by with Ryan Zusek, going to be Justin Prince.
Yes, indeed, Ryan. First things first, let's talk about your race today. You were good on the short run. Your teammate, Caden, was better on the long run at times, but you had to claw your way back up to second place. First of all, let's talk about how you felt your race went tonight with your 55 lead laps.
Yeah, I was good. I was having a good race at first, obviously, because we were having them short runs, and I was just getting a little bit too tight on the short run. I was overdriving the car, and then I tried saving once I lost the lead, and it started getting looser. So I don't know. Was just missing a little bit. Not on the setup, obviously, because I mean, Caden was on the same thing as me, and he dominated. But yeah, I guess I didn't learn the track as well as him.
Now let's also talk about how the finish went along for tonight. As this race progressed tonight, had that long green flag run, had a lot of shuffling and contact at some point of that race. How difficult was it to try and compose and bounce your way back from that? At one point, you were shuffled out to about 9th position.
Yeah, I wasn't really concerned about how far back I was because I had a feeling I was gonna gain the majority of the spots back once the pit stops had cycled themselves out. It was just maneuvering the lap cars was just scaring me to death. There was one time when Caden pulled back on the track, I almost ran into him because I was sandwiched between him and a lap car and had Justin right on me. So, yeah, maneuvering through the lap cars after the pit stops was definitely the biggest challenge.
Indeed. Have to ask this as well. How is it that your cars for you and your whole organization are so quick each and every time there was a short track race? It seems Nexus, for about a year and a half, 2 years at least, minimum now, have been, you can pencil your organization's drivers in for at least 1 or 2 wins in NAS week.
Yeah, it's just a lot of hard work and effort. The guys over at Nexus put in a lot of time into our setups. And I feel like actually we've been getting a little bit better, even on the bigger tracks. Been seeing improvements on them, but yeah, short tracks seem to be like where we really shine, I guess.
Next race is also at a short track, Martinsville. How's the preparation going for that so far?
Pretty good, pretty good. One of my favorite tracks. I'm a really big short track guy. I love the short tracks. Dover, I don't necessarily consider a short track. It's so high banked and you're going so fast. It's almost like an intermediate. It's weird. But yeah, I'm really looking forward to Martinsville.
Anyone you want to thank before we let you go?
Oh yeah. Gotta thank Viper Graphics, GFAArmsTech.com, Roofers Edge and Siding, South Middlesex Cleaning, the whole JDR Motorsports crew, everybody at Nexus. You guys for putting on the broadcast. And congratulations to Caden.
Congratulations on the second place finish. You and your teammate led 180 of the 215 laps combined. Congrats.
Thank you.
Ryan Doucette coming home in second tonight. Back over to Ryan Jones.
That will conclude us then for this evening here on the iRacing Esports Network. Thanks to SimSpeed TV. But a fantastic race and plenty more still to come over the next 20-odd weeks of this series. But before then, plenty more coming up for SimSpeed TV tonight. The Circuit Club XL series on SimSpeed's YouTube channel. Go and subscribe to that if you want. The Grand Prix series, another strength field event. Tomorrow, Sunday morning, Australian time. Plus, 2 big events for SimSpeed. On the iRacing Esports Network, you can catch V8 Scops, the premier touring car race in Australian sim racing coming up. And plus, the Carbon Gaming GT3 E-Series over on the SimSpeed YouTube channel. A series and a lineup filled with professional drivers from Australian motorsport. Make sure you like and subscribe to us on YouTube and on all our social media platforms as well, and you won't miss a moment. Thanks to Justin Prince and Jay Kennedy, and also Sean Ambrose jumping on the broadcast tonight. My name was Ryan Jones, and from all of us up here on the booth, thank you for tuning in. We'll see you next time.
This is fantastic. This is GT racing right now.
He's got traction. He's covering the outside. Both of them. Maloney.
Oh, he's taking Anderson. Anderson's up top.
Oh my God. Big crash. Oh my goodness. Half the field's going to get rolled.
Second very close. These guys are want to make their way through the field very quickly. Oh, there we go. Oh no, that's massive. This is it. This is over. I can't believe this. Oh my God.
God, what?